Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Meehan. This is Alex Garzinski, and this is the fourth pair, our new hockey podcast here with Caps on Sports. How you doing, Alec?
Doing great. We got some hockey coming up, so I couldn't even be better.
Yeah, it's been a relatively quick off season. A lot of big storylines going into the season. It's going to be a very fun and interesting season. So let's get right into it. We're going to start with as everyone knows, we have new division lineups this year. We're going to go division by division right now and give us our winners and all that. So we'll start with the Northern Division, which is the Canadian division. Those teams, got Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, Vancouver, and Winnipeg. So, Alec, who do you think is going to come out top in this division?
So this was actually probably the hardest division I was looking at. Um, I just feel like a lot of teams are pretty close in terms of depth and skill, but I had to go with our boys over in Edmonton.
Okay.
So I got them at plus 400 to win the division. I think, like I said, the most competitive division, but I think Edmonton has a slight edge with Mr. McDavid.
Yeah, it's hard to argue there. You got, if not the best, the second best player in the NHL, and then a different player who is the reigning Hart Trophy winner in Leon Draisaitl. So
Mhm.
they got plenty of talent up top. Just a matter of my biggest question with them is their depth.
Yeah.
But in a relatively shortened season, and especially when you're going to be playing teams 8 or 9 times in the Canadian division, you're going to get a little familiarity with how to beat certain teams. So, and I'm going with kind of a similar kind of the young fun team. I'm going with the Vancouver Canucks at plus 550. So I was actually kind of surprised they were this there's so much value there because what I saw last postseason, obviously you saw them beat your Blues in the postseason last year. They got a lot of young guns, Quinn Hughes, Elias Pettersson. These guys are legit, and also they brought in Braden Holtby, which I don't know if it's really a step up from goal in a goaltending situation, but it's definitely not a big step down. And you're going to expect these guys to make bigger steps. And my favorite player in that team, ex-Ranger JT Miller, the way he's kind of blossomed into this leader on that team has been awesome to watch. And I'm excited to see him this year. But I think my favorite part about this division, we're going to see the Battle of Alberta 10 times.
Oh yeah, was it 10?
It's 10 times. We're going to see Edmonton, Calgary, and I think on two different occasions they played 3 times in 1 week.
Oh my god.
So by game 10, you might see someone like go full Happy Gilmore and try to stab someone with a skate. I'm
Like the
so
Red Wedding.
I'm so excited for that. Like literally.
Yeah, my whole theory with picking teams to come out of the division was it's completely different playing field, so you kind of got to think out of the box. Maybe the most obvious pick isn't going to be the correct pick. So
Exactly. And there's they're only playing in division this year. So there's going to be a lot of familiarity. And then I think that's going to kind of bring the gap between 1 and 8 very much closer than it would normally be. But it's going to be interesting to see.
mhm.
So from there, let's go to the Eastern Conference, which is another loaded division. We got the Boston Bruins, Buffalo Sabres, the New Jersey Devils, that team that shall not be named from Long Island, the New York Rangers, then the Flyers, Penguins, and Capitals. I don't really see. I mean, probably the Devils are the only going to be bad team, but even there's some pieces that can make some noise.
Yeah, they've even been making strides, but
I
based
think they're
on
still a year or two away from
yeah,
being
based on terms of
back in contention.
being built and kind of like established, I'd say they're probably the
Hmm.
least likely to come out of that division.
I
But
could see him being some sellers. They're gonna you see like Palmieri and guys like that. I could definitely see him on new faces, new on contenders come whenever the deadline is this season, probably sometime in April,
yeah, and
maybe
they
late
have
March.
Mackenzie Blackwood, who's just been
Hmm.
getting better and better every year, and they just picked up Corey Crawford as well from
That's right.
Chicago. So that
He's
just
not who he used to be, but in a role that maybe he'll only start 30, 35 games, be
mhm.
very effective.
Especially because they got rid of Corey Schneider as well, so they kind of
Yeah,
had to
he
fill in
he
that.
he fell off out of nowhere. He
Yeah,
went
but it's
from
great
a
that
top tier goalie.
they're able to fill in that leadership gap in terms of goaltending,
Hmm.
and then
Yeah,
everyone
yeah,
on the Instagram page is calling for Paul Mary to get the C. So that'll be
Yeah,
interesting.
I think they might be hesitant on that just because I see Palmieri getting traded by the deadline
Yeah,
just
especially
because he's
because
on the
he
last
was.
year of his deal and he's going to be a solid, maybe a second or third line goal scorer for like a cup caliber team.
Mhm.
But so my pick to win the division is going to be the Philadelphia Flyers at plus 430. I think they were the third favorite FanDuel. So I just love this team. I'm a big fan of Alain Vigneault, what he's doing there. Just that team that they have right now is perfect for him. He's great at, you know, coaching veterans, if that makes sense. Like when you saw how much success he had in New York with like a veteran team, and then how quickly it fell apart for him in New York when the team started rebuilding. So, this is a team I think, got a year or two left in a cup contention. And I think they go all in this year and win the division.
All right, I actually like that pick a lot because I was originally going to take them, but then I thought, gotta think outside the box a little bit more. So I went with your New York
Oh, wow.
Rangers
Wow.
at a plus 800. Because
I
I think
love the value there.
one of the things with this not only is the value, but also they're a pretty streaky team. So I could just see them getting hot. All these young bucks just grinding on all cylinders, like they did last year.
Mhm.
Just finding their groove and just coming out in the East. King of the East. So
And you're going to see like, Capo Caco probably get a bigger role. I think they're leaning towards throwing him in that Jesper Foss spot. I'm on board with Panarin and Ryan Strome. So get him on that line and he's going to have to produce because Panarin will find you. Just got to, finish it. And, they have some question marks at center and probably they're back into their defense, but especially, I would say they might have the best 1-2 punch and goal in that conference at least, or the division, and Shesterkin and Georgiev.
yeah,
Both only 25 years old and both have proven to be very good goaltenders. I think this is probably the last year they'll be together. Like they can't both be. One of them has to emerge as the alpha,
hmm
and then the other will probably get traded somewhere for some more draft capital because Jeff Gordon just loves stockpiling draft picks and all that. So
yeah. So it'd be nice to see maybe at intermission just watch them fight to the death for the starting job.
yeah, the day before the trade deadline, just make them fight it out. Whoever loses is getting sent to Ottawa.
My only concern with the Rangers, though, is I remember seeing Zibanejad wasn't at training camp for the first few days. I didn't see anything else on it, so I'm not sure if it's
Yeah,
like a
it's just kind of a precaution.
okay.
I'm not sure the exact what the injury is, but it's nothing to really stress over yet, at least.
So then that only confirms that Rangers at plus 800 might be the best value in any team you could
Yeah, the
possibly get.
value there is incredible, and like you're betting on the likes of Capo Caco, Philip Hedl, Adam Fox, Hayek making that step into being a legitimate producer in NHL, and also we need the Golden Boy Lafreniere to uh, step onto the ice day one and just start producing. All right, from there for East we'll go. Let's go to the Central. The Central Division doesn't really make sense, but all right. So we got Carolina, Chicago, Columbus, Dallas, Detroit, Florida, Nashville, and Tampa. I would probably think that St. Louis would be in there over Dallas, but Dallas in the
Yeah.
West. But I think that makes too much sense. And also keep them with their actual rivals. But whatever. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, so I actually again, this one probably makes the most sense of any of the ones that I've picked so far, but I went with the Stanley Cup runner-ups, the Dallas Stars,
I did the exact same
um,
thing.
at plus 550 on DraftKings.
Yeah,
So
that surprised me too. I was like, who was above them? Obviously Tampa.
Tampa, Carolina was above them as well.
That's right. Yep. All right. So that's not too far fetched.
Because I haven't seen them lose too many pieces.
Yeah,
Um,
they're still a very good team, and like if Miro Heiskanen keeps like
doing what he's
evolving,
doing,
he's
yeah.
going to become a top five, at least like the power play defenseman in the NHL. If like the dude's incredible, he's so much fun to watch.
And I mean, they still have basically a Vesna finalist every single year in goal as well. Um, and they've just come so close to the cup in the last few years.
Yeah,
Um,
like they've lost in 7 to the or like the prior to going this year, they lost to who was it? They lost to St. Louis in the year before that. Like they
yeah, and
keep
if I feel like if they won that game, they would have easily made it to the cup
mhm.
final.
Yeah.
I think they
So
would have steamrolled San Jose. So
I agree. And I think this is, with Ben and Sagan, like they're getting a little up there. Not like crazy, but at a point in time where like, hey, maybe it's time to move on.
I think it's kind of similar to Tampa Bay's situation where it's
Hmm.
like, listen, this is our window. We got to hit this, or we kind
Yeah,
of
and like
just
Tampa got their cup. Maybe they can go out after one more. But also with Tampa, Kucherov's out the entire regular season.
hmm
Stamkos is a question mark for the first week or so.
feel like he's always a question mark.
Yeah, like and can he even stay healthy all year? That's my concern with Tampa. Also, Ryan McDonough's a little banged up still. Like it's if they're healthy, they should be back in contention again. But that's the big question mark: can they stay healthy?
You also got to remember they have the shortest off season ever,
Oh yeah,
so they're probably, most teams will have the hangover, but they might still even be drunk for the first 2 weeks. So
so
I,
whether
I
that's
can
a good or
imagine
a bad thing for him, we'll see.
yeah, but I can imagine a pretty slow start from them. Maybe they'll find their groove, but
Mhm.
I definitely think Dallas is the pick here.
I think it's gonna be between Dallas and Carolina. I do love that Carolina team. That they're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
be
I'm a huge fan of them.
a
I
lot
always
of fun.
take them
They're
as
a lot of fun.
so.
So we'll see how it goes there. And then let's go out west to the Western Division. I would say maybe the weakest division in hockey. We have the Anaheim Ducks, Arizona Coyotes, the Colorado Avalanche, LA Kings, the Minnesota Wild, San Jose Sharks, your St. Louis Blues, and the Vegas Golden Knights. I think is kind of a top heavy division. I think it has the most bad teams, if that.
hmm
Like with LA, I don't think Minnesota is going to do anything. Um, San Jose, could bounce back. I think they have enough talent, but I think they're a little over the hill.
Yeah, they seem like they're still pretty banged up, and plus they got rid of Thornton and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So
So I
they
I
seem
I, I think they're going to like blow it all up if they're not. It's a month and a half into the season and they're at the bottom of the Division. They're going to blow it up.
yeah, they'll be looking for draft picks.
Just wait to see Brent Burns, Carlson, Vander Kane, all these guys in different uniforms.
hmm
So my pick in the West is just very vanilla pick, boring pick. I'm just going with Colorado plus 140. I mean, I want to pick like a bigger dog, but they're the best team in the division. Like I don't think it's that close. McKinnon, I think it's him and McDavid at the top of the Hart Trophy, favorites, and I think they're a deep team. Like they're talented on the top defense goal. They're going to dominate that division.
Yeah, so I have it in my notes. I actually scribbled out Colorado because I thought that was vanilla. Um, so I actually ended up just putting St. Louis down on there.
Mm-hmm.
No
I think
bias,
they're my definitely number 2. I would say.
no bias whatsoever either.
Yeah, definitely
Um,
not.
they just added a bunch of pieces. They did get rid of Petrangelo, but they also added, like Hoffman,
Corey
Krug.
Krug.
Um, they added a bunch of just solid pieces in there, and also retained majority of their core that went and won the cup. Um,
How's
I think
Tarasenko looking for like injury wise? He's
uh,
still like questionable to
not
start the season.
confirmed yet, but I believe they're looking to put him on a long-term IR,
Okay,
which just opens up their cap, which is why they're able to extend, Vince Dunn on a 1 year.
and
I
I
think it
think
was
that's the
1 million.
reason they signed Hoffman to that minor league thing. Just I think because they needed to wait for somebody to get off the books before
Yeah,
officially signing them.
and also this is Bennington's judgment year.
Yeah,
This is where it decides if that cup run was a fluke or if he should actually get extended and can be considered one of the greats. So this is
yeah,
definitely
like
there's a lot to prove with this squad, and I think they're definitely going to use that to help them excel, and also picking Colorado. There's just no value there
yeah,
either.
the value only plus 140 there, so I don't love it, but I think it's too much to pass up. They're just
Yeah,
I think
it's
too good of a
honestly
team.
like too obvious not to take, but I just
But
had to go.
and especially in a condensed season like this, the team gets hot and or a team gets cold, and all of a sudden you might not even make the playoffs.
Yeah, so that's why I took the Anaheim Ducks. No, I'm kidding.
But it's gonna be a little different look in the playoffs this season, where you have so the top four teams from each division will make the playoffs, and then 1v4, 2v3, and then one team from each division will represent, in the conference finals. But it's a little different because it's not necessarily going to be East versus West. It's just going to be of the four division, representatives, we'll call it. It's they seed them again 1 through 4. So there's a possibility that you could see two Eastern Conference teams in the Cup final, which is going to be a very weird looking thing if you see Boston, Montreal in a Cup final. But I think it could be good for the sport though. See these little crazy matchups, but. No, it's a temporary thing because, I hope that it's the only season that will be affected by a pandemic, but, we'll see.
I think it would just be a poetic justice if Boston ends up beating Toronto in the Stanley Cup final.
Oh my God, I know what I want to happen now. That's what I want to happen right now. Lock it in. But I think I don't know about Boston because I think they got some issues that might come up this year.
But moving on.
Let's move on to want to do the last place, or do you want still have some?
Well, we still got here. Who's lifting up the cup?
Oh, let's do that. So you start with your cup predictions here.
All right. So like I said, it's a weird year. 2020 was a weird year. 2021 is probably going to be just as weird, if not weirder. We're having billboards on these players' helmets and stuff. So I went plus 1,600. The Philadelphia Flyers.
All right, you got a big drought ending there. I like that.
So they just have a bunch of young guys that are really coming into their roles. You got Provorov leading the defense, Carter Hart in net.
Yeah, Katahat.
Your save percentage, .914. Fantastic.
It's
2.42 goals against average. And then they just got a bunch of veteran players as well. And I just think what they've shown last year, I just think it's just enough for them. It's a weird enough year where they could just come out and just be lifting the cup come June?
Yeah, June or maybe July, but it's going to be I love that pick. I love this Flyers team. I mean, I hate the Flyers themselves, but this team itself, I do like the looks of them. They have a perfect mix of the veterans like Giroux and Voracek. Then you got the young guys like Provorov, Katahat, and a few other guys. I'm just forgetting right now. But so I'm gonna give you two. I'm gonna give you two cup futures right now. One, the
one's
vanilla.
Colorado.
Yep, one's Colorado. Colorado plus 700. They're the odds-on favorite to win the cup. But I can't look at myself and say that's my only pick for the cup. I gotta put one with a little more value on it. And I'm going at plus 2,200. I'm going with the Carolina Hurricanes.
Wow. Okay.
I'm expecting a Svechnikov to make that jump to superstardom. What is it, 56 games? I could see 70 points out of him. That's very
Russian mode.
Oh yeah, he's gonna go full superstar Russian mode. This dude is, incredible. Sebastian Aho, the top line of Aho, Teravainen, and Svechnikov. This year they might be the best league in hockey.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna be up there. But they're very good defensively too with Slavin and Dougie Hamilton. They got plenty of other pieces back there too. And I'm not sure whether there may be a little question mark in net, but maybe an acquisition at the deadline, gives them that boost to, make a run through the postseason.
Yeah, and they're actually a team that I take. For the last 3 years, I've taken them to win the Cup and to win the East. I just, for some reason, come playoff time, I always like to take them. I think there's always a lot of value, and they always tend to perform too.
Yeah, and they're making noise every past few years, and at some point they got to break through.
Yeah.
I think this season could very well be it.
Yeah, definitely. So that's why I'll probably be taking that one as well. I just love the juicy odds when it comes to winning the cup. So that's why I'm not taking the Avalanche, even though that's probably the most obvious pick.
Plus 700 was good enough for me to do $5-10 on.
Yeah.
So
then
from there should we
opposite of that though. Uh, the team that we think is going to finish last. This is last in points.
In the
Um,
entire NHL,
and
not
it's
division by
different.
division, the worst team in all of hockey, or at least
It's
record
different than
wise.
usual because they're only playing their divisions. So you can kind of look at it strategically and be like, well, what's the worst team in the best division or stuff like that. So who'd you end up picking?
So I think we're in agreement here. I'm going with the Devils, just
Oh,
because of not that they have the worst roster. I think there are actually a couple teams that are worse than them, but the fact that they are in the loaded Eastern Division, like they'll have to play the Rangers, the Flyers, the Penguins, Capitals, Bruins, all 8 times, or yeah, 8 times each.
hmm
So they're gonna get beat up by some of these better teams in that division. I think there's
yeah,
7 legitimate. So I think there 17 in the division could make the playoffs.
yeah. So they're definitely down there, but classically, you had Detroit and dead last in
Mm-hmm.
terms of odds to win the cup. Um, Anaheim, I believe, was above
Mm-hmm.
Detroit. Ottawa was down there too. I ended up going with a weird one here, uh, which is pretty on brand. I went with Chicago
I could see it.
because so they're in the Central. They're with the Canes, the Blue Jackets, the Stars, the Red Wings, the Panthers, the Predators, and Tampa Bay. But they're missing Taves right now, who had, I think it was a heart condition, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Was it some health issue? I don't know if it's COVID related or not, or if I think he had COVID, so it might be some lingering effects or something. But
Yeah, so he's not up at 100%. They're missing depth. Um, and in goal, that was my biggest question mark.
mhm.
Their starting goalie right now is Malcolm Subban, who's pretty much been a backup his whole
He's
career.
like a middle of the road when it comes to backups.
Yeah,
He's
and he
not
has
a
a
he's not a starter.
he has a .899 save percentage in his career.
It's not the
Um,
worst I've ever seen, but that's not someone you want to start 55 games, or I guess
yeah,
this season would be like 45 games.
so I just think a multitude of factors plus the Central's pretty stacked as well. So I just think they're gonna have trouble finding a groove, and I think it's gonna be an off season. And with the perfect conditions, they're just gonna come out and last.
I,
And I
I
know
got a,
that.
I got a question for you. If this is the if they do finish in last, is Patrick Kane a Blackhawk being the next season?
Um, I mean, I think I'd like to see him.
I'm not sure what his contract looks like, but they're not going to want to hold on to a 33-year-old winger. I don't feel like if they finish in last, you can get a lot. I think you get a lot for him. So
Yeah, but I just know that they're gonna end up showing me off and just not coming in last. And
exactly, yeah, they're going to somehow like be competing at the end, but I don't think that's a bad pick at all.
but yeah, like I said, got to pick the weird ones here with what's
Exactly.
going on.
From there, do you have any player award futures? I just got two for you.
The only one I ever really take is Ovi to win the Rocket Richard. So
That's fair. But my only two futures to do real quick. This is a big Rangers plug right here, but I'm gonna go Artemi Panarin to win the Hart plus 1,000, and Igor Shesterkin to win the Calder at plus I think 350.
nice.
So Shesterkin is still qualified as a rookie. He's on the FanDuel list of Calder candidates. So all right, so let's move on to just a little fun little thing here. Going to see a lot of fun matchups this year. What's the most goals we're going to see in one game this year?
So last year I'd say was a pretty high scoring year. The year before that as well. Um,
We're seeing
there's
more and more skill in the NHL.
yeah,
We're seeing a lot more over unders of like 6.5 than I ever have.
yeah. I think last year was the most 6.5 over unders I've ever seen. So that being said, my most goals in a game I have as 12, and the score is going to be 7-5.
I have 13. It's going to be 7-6.
And I think that 7-5 game is going to come out of the North Division.
I could see like something like Toronto, Edmonton just going nuts one night.
Yeah, I
And
think I
it's
imagined
going
it.
to be dual hat tricks from McDavid and Matthews.
I think
You
I
know,
imagined it as 7-5 Calgary over Edmonton, and 3 fights somewhere in there.
oh yeah, no, like the entire fourth line has been ejected from since second period. It's going to be nutty. And then another little fun one, most penalty minutes for a team. And we're just
Uh,
doing minor infractions here. We're not counting fights and whatnot.
yeah, so last year, first place was Washington with 266 minors. Um, Tampa Bay and Carolina tied for second with 257.
That was really surprising, though, that the top three were all playoff teams that, you wouldn't expect. I was
Yeah.
expecting like Anaheim, LA, these teams, but
Well, it's just teams that's what I originally thought, but then you got to think these teams are just
mhm.
playing hard and fast.
They're playing much more
And,
aggressive.
yeah, and they
That's
tend to pick up more penalties than a team like Anaheim that
yeah.
isn't really in too many games to begin with. Um,
Hmm.
Third place was New York Rangers, 252, and then fifth was Boston with 239. So that being said, who do you think is going to have the most minor penalties?
I think it's going to be the Rangers. Just they're they're such a young team still. They are the youngest team in hockey at an average age of 25 years old, which is just
Wow.
crazy to think about. But just like the lack of experience by so many of their guys, like they just take stupid penalties all the time. Like I've watched them all the time. They always take these stupid, unnecessary penalties, and it's gonna happen more this year. So
Okay.
they're gonna be starting like probably at some point probably 2 or 3 rookies and 3 more second year guys. So
Yeah, that's definitely a good pick.
it's gonna be fun.
Um, so I'm just going to take Washington to come in first again, just because Tom Wilson. So
Yeah, and them too. They kind of have some guys that consistently play like a little sloppy at times. So.
yeah, and plus these teams that are just moving so fast, it's easier to maybe accidentally trip someone or hook
Mhm.
someone. So it's definitely not going to be a team where you'd think like Detroit, because they're just like not a good team, is going to be picking up the most penalty minutes.
Those teams a lot of speed. Honestly, I feel like I see penalties because even it might not be as bad of a hit as it looks, or it's a worse hit than it. No, it's not as bad of a hit as it looks because you're going so fast. He's like, oh my
Yeah.
god, just blow him up, and then charging penalty, give him a boarding, whatever. So yeah, I like that. All right, so let's go. All right, so something new this season. We got advertisements on helmets, and each division actually has their own sponsor. So I'm on Twitter, looking at some of these guys are freaking out about it, like, oh, it's turning into like these European leagues and whatnot. Like, what's the 2 years from now? It's going to be 18 advertisements in every jersey. And I'm like, all right, let's relax here. It's just to offset revenue loss from no ticket sales, and like concession stuff like that. So as long as it doesn't, keep evolving, I'm okay with it. But
Yeah, the I saw the pictures on Twitter. The one advertisement on the helmets looked pretty clean.
yeah,
And
like
I
I
think
think
as
I saw one for Calgary and one for Pittsburgh, and both looked like the one with Calgary, especially, looked like just it is blended in with the helmet.
and I think as long as the advertisements that they're getting kind of go with the jersey and they're not like, lime green or something
Yeah,
ridiculous like that, and it doesn't look like a soccer jersey, I
yeah,
think it'll be fine.
and as long as the ice doesn't look like some of these like European League ices where it's like advertisements all on the ice, on the jerseys everywhere, like
Yeah.
it's as long as they don't get too much, it's no big deal. But so long as they get that start getting revenue back, get people in the
Mhm.
stands. Hopefully, maybe come playoff time, go back to a little bit of normalcy there. And we'll go next. So if you've watched hockey, especially if you're a Devils fan, especially, this guy, the legend that is Doc Emmerich, and that he decided to retire over this past off season. Um, I was always loved when he was announcing Ranger games in the playoffs. It was always that's how you were the biggest game of the day when you got Doc Emmerich in the booth.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be weird not hearing him every Wednesday night. Um, I don't know if you've heard who's gonna be like the replacing him in the booth this year.
Yeah, I'd like to see Joe Buck replace him. Uh,
Yeah, get Joe Buck up there.
as long as he doesn't bring the energy he does for playoff baseball games, I'd be
I
fine
think
with
he's
it.
gotten better actually, but I've heard
Nothing worse than
I think I've heard that Kenny Albert is actually the favorite to replace him. I think he's pretty much been their B team, and I'm assuming Eddie
yeah.
Olczyk will be up there too.
Hmm.
But they need to get Jeremy Roenick back in the booth, whether it's for calling games or in the studio for pre games. They're missing something without him.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Too electric. All right, so now let's move into some more pressing issues. Some off-season moves of the NHL. Um, we'll start with probably what was the biggest off-season splash when Alex Pietrangelo signed with the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, that one was
Any initial thoughts there?
that was just kind of a sticky situation, because you want to keep him because he's your captain. He led you to your first cup. That's a
But
lot
like,
of charisma on the ice. But with that as well, he wants to get paid. He wants it to be, an extensive contract. He has three triplets to take care of.
mhm.
So he wants a contract with longevity, but that's just something that, I guess Doug Armstrong came to the conclusion that they just couldn't afford. And I think, as much as it hurt to let him go, we'll see if it comes back to nip him in the butt. But I think in the long run and for the most part the short run, it was kind of the smart move.
Yeah, I totally agree on the Blues aspects. Like he's 30 years old, he'll be 31 this season, and you don't want to give a 31-year-old defenseman an 8-year contract.
Hmm.
It's going to look terrible probably in 3-4 years when he starts to like decline. It's going to look like a terrible contract, like a Mark Stoller situation in New York.
Yeah.
Where you dish out this like monster contract to a defenseman who's been great for a few years now, but he's nearing that peak if he hasn't already gotten there.
Hmm.
And I think this season will be the one big year for him in Vegas, maybe one or two more after. But then come year 4 and 5 of this contract, they're going to be looking for any ways to get out.
Yeah. And I just think it's great that their defense now is sort of younger, on the younger side.
Yeah, no, it's looking like going to be like Krug and Pareko on the top. That's a
Yeah.
very fun pair.
Yeah, and I mean, he was playing with Chara for his whole career, so he's not too he's seen some tall people before, so
Yeah,
it's
so he's used to playing with this like big pillar there on the other side. But I think Pareko right now is a little more has got more skill and speed than Chara does at the moment.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
definitely.
they're gonna be a fun pair, and Blue's gonna be a fun team.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Um,
And the other big splash was Taylor Hall to Buffalo, but on a 1-year deal. So I think it's very interesting for Buffalo in the sense that if they're still getting beat up in this Eastern Division, say they finish like 6th or 7th in the division this year, what happens? Like, I don't see Hall signing long term for a team that he doesn't. I think Hall wants to win immediately.
mhm.
That's why he signed this 1-year deal. Like, oh, we'll see what happens here, and I can kind of after a bit of an off year, I'll prove that I'm still that dude, and then get the bag from like Colorado or something like that.
Yeah, and I mean that was the whole reason he left the Devils in the first place.
Hmm.
He won the heart there, and then just nothing really ended up working, so he ended up leaving for Arizona. And I'm pulling up what he did in Arizona, but from the games that I've watched when he was on the Coyotes, I didn't really see too much.
Yeah, he played like he had some moments where he was looking like he was like Taylor Hall, but as a whole, like was a little underwhelming in Arizona last year. So, they're that top line in Buffalo is going to be absurd with Jack Eichel in the middle with Taylor Hall, and then where they put like either Sam Reinhart or Victor Olofsson or whoever the hell on the other side. They're going to score a lot of goals, but who the hell else is going to score?
Yeah.
So, unless you're playing Hall and Eichel 40 minutes a game, I think they're still going to struggle in that division a little bit. So, I think Buffalo needs to make the playoffs this year if they want to keep this core together. Or else,
Mhm.
if Hall leaves, I could see Eichel getting traded, getting, 2 firsts and more prospects and stuff. Cause that's going to be, he's only 24, 25 years old. So he's got plenty of production left in him. So,
Yeah, I think now is kind of their window to say, we could play as a team.
Is this the group we build forward with?
Yeah, and then that's when the office kind of has to take a step back and just reassess maybe the route they've been going.
So they have a plethora of like top 3, top 5 picks on that team. At some point, they have to start playing like it.
Yeah, because they got
They
Rasmus
got
Dahlin, right?
yeah, Rasmus Dahlin number 1, Eichel number 2, Reinhardt was like 5 or 6 or something. Hall was number 1 overall.
Mhm.
Eric
Yeah,
Stahl way back in the day was up there. Like there's plenty more that I'm just like, I have them in written down somewhere, but it's the amount of talent they should be like a top. In the past few years, it's been the same thing. Oh, Buffalo Red Hearts start, they're back, and then they fall off a cliff. So
yep.
I see the same thing happen this year, to be honest. And then one thing that I thought would happen this offseason, just never did, was for Barzell to sign an extension with the Islanders, or at least someone give him an offer sheet and make the Islanders do something. But he's still, he's still got that restricted free agent deal this year, so he's got. I think he'll be an unrestricted free agent after this year unless they come to terms, which last I've seen is there's really no traction there because
Yeah,
he's going to want like 8 for 72 or something like that. He's going to want a big time deal.
yeah. He's at the point of his career where he wants it, and also I think he's earned it as
Oh, yeah, I
well.
think he's earned it too.
So,
He's the reason that franchise is still relevant right now. And instead of like trying to build around him, no, let's trade like 2 of our top defensemen from our little playoff run. But if I'm Barzell, I'm ditching that dumpster fire.
yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm a little biased, but
Slightly biased, but
only
yeah,
only
I
a
mean,
little
I could
bit.
see him going somewhere like Florida or something like that.
Mhm.
Maybe not like an already established team because he's going to want such a
And up and
contract.
comer,
What's up?
what like an up and coming team that's got like
Yeah,
some
like what?
pieces.
Not like a completely depleted team like your Detroits or your Ottawas, but like a team that already has some established players,
Mhm.
and are looking for some other key pieces that will be there for a while.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. All right, so I guess that me and Alec we're going to our opening night picks. Unless there's anything else we missed.
No, yeah, I think that's it. Now we just got to get into the juicy part.
Oh yeah, so we always post daily picks on capsonsports.com. Also make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, all at Caps on Sports. Shameless plug right there. So let's start up. Let me load up FanDuel real quick. So I got some lines in front of me.
Yeah, we're actually starting off the season with a classic rivalry. We're gonna have Pittsburgh in Philadelphia, and they're a pick 'em. I believe the
Um,
under is set at 6.5.
6.5. The under is at -130, so it's definitely leaning under. But who you got?
I took Flyers money line minus
Mhm.
110. Um, yeah, because they're my team to win the cup, and I think they got to start off on the right foot.
Yeah, and
So,
I think the way they got embarrassed last season in Game 7 against the Islanders, where they didn't show up. I think they're going to be kind of embarrassed and ready to show like, hey, that's not us. We need to
mhm.
come out. And this is I think it's the beginning of the end for the Pittsburgh dynasty. Like it's been in a hell of a run for them, but
Great
Crosby,
run. Yeah,
Malkin, they're getting up there. Like there's no denying it. They can still produce,
I mean they
but
still
it's at
have
some
Jari and Net as well, who was
mhm.
fantastic last year, but I kind of
They're
agree where
they're
their
gonna
split is.
at some point you got to start thinking like as a GM like what's the best course of action for this franchise.
Hmm.
And if they're struggling, like I'm not saying it's gonna happen this year or even next year, but at some point you got to look and like what do we do with Crosby and Malkin? Do we think we can get a couple more cup runs with them, or is it time to move on and rebuild?
Yeah.
And from there, this is a triple header on NBC. Next, we got new division rivals, Chicago and Tampa. Um, so I actually picked Chicago at first, but
Interesting.
I'm kind of like iffy on that. I'm actually gonna go under 6.5. as my pick for that game. And I'm leading Chicago. Maybe Chicago plus 1.5.
Where is the game? Is it in
It's
Tampa
in
Bay?
Tampa.
Okay. Well, then I love the Chicago pick. I might even take them alternate spread. Um, because
Ooh.
something about teams when they raise the banner.
It's a little hangover action,
Yeah,
and
the
the
hangover.
way they were celebrating, like as you're
Yeah.
saying, they're very well still drunk. So
Plus the whole ceremony. That always gets them kind of out of their head. But my official pick was actually over 6.5. So
all right, so we're real differentials there. I just think I see a little sloppiness from at least from Tampa's side. So
yeah,
we'll see.
definitely.
And then the 10:30 game that night, I know you're gonna be tuned in to the Blues and Avalanche.
Classic division rivalry. Um, but they're in a different division this year. Uh, I actually faded my boys and I took Avs money line.
Yeah, I like as my line as well.
Yeah, I think this one might actually be a higher scoring game. I think the over might be a good play. It's
Yeah, this
five and
one's
a
at
half.
5.5, so I do like that over.
But I think the safest play there is just Colorado. Obviously, I'm going to be fading my own pick, but
Yeah, but I know like I think they're gonna make a statement that we're the team to beat.
definitely.
So and
And
then also
then,
they won't be or what were you saying?
there's the two Canadian games.
Yeah, I was just gonna get into that. Just mention like they won't be I don't think any Canadian games will be broadcast, like on NBC or anything this year. So it's gonna be all, watching. I don't know. Maybe you get if you got like a nice package on cable box, but we've also got Montreal, Toronto, and then Vancouver, Edmonton. Anything on those?
Yeah, I actually took Montreal money line. I think that's a great pick. They're gonna have Carey Price in net holding it down. I just think they're gonna get it done.
Yeah, I like that, and also I'm going to go with Vancouver on the other side. Big debut for Braden Holtby.
Yeah, on the other side, I actually went with Edmonton minus 1.5.
I
So
think it's going to be one of the other. Like I think if it's a close game, Vancouver gets it. But if Edmonton, is buzzing, then they're not going to win by one. They're going to win by a couple goals. So
yeah,
I
and
don't hate that at all.
only time will
Especially at
tell.
plus 250. Like no, I might have to join you there too. So
And I definitely love Montreal against the Toronto Pretty Boys. I never really put any of my money on Toronto, so
yeah, Toronto, like they're gonna make some plays and mix like do some fun stuff in this regular season. But the second they even smell Boston, it's over. Maybe they can break through. Maybe Jumbo Joe will give them a little boost to the young boys
oh
this
yeah,
year.
they
But
did add some grit to their roster during the offseason, so could be a different Toronto team in the playoffs this year.
yeah,
But
you can only hope. But
obviously they have to make it to the playoffs first, and the
yeah,
Canadian division is pretty
they're
stacked.
no lock. Like if Calgary bounces back, Winnipeg is still very talented.
Hmm.
It's going to be a fun division. And it's going to be, but what with one less team in that division, I don't know what that's going to do exactly to, whether that gives them a boost or not. So it's going to be interesting to watch, and
Yeah,
it
it's
should be a
gonna be an
very, very
interesting
fun
season.
season.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm
It's
excited.
even though it's been so short, it felt like it's been so long, and I just looking
I
forward
know
to it.
it's been awesome watching the World Juniors a little bit. These guys are nuts. Like every player on every team is just super skilled and fast. It's so much fun. But any final thoughts?
Uh, no, nothing.
Yeah, I think we're all good. And so this has been our first episode here, the fourth pair. I'm Sam Meehan. This is Alex Garazinski. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms: Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, all at Caps on Sports. And then follow us our website at capsonsports.com, where you can find daily betting picks along with some nice pieces from all the guys here at Caps on Sports. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Peace.